Welcome to Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music with your host, multi-award-winning music producer, Eddie Kilroy. And now, here's your host, Eddie Kilroy.
Hey, how are you? Good, I hope. Good as we are, because we feel great being with you today. How are you, Liz?
I am fine. I'm trying to catch a cold, and I don't want to catch it, but...
No, don't catch it.
Anyway.
Shoo it off.
It's affecting my voice a little bit here.
That's all right. You sound good.
But outside of that, I'm doing okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I hope all the folks out there watching are doing okay. And you know what I want to do? I want to say a great big thanks to Total Feed, our new sponsor. Because without Total Feed, we won't be able to build this into what we want to build it in, which is like something really, really good. And it's going to be good.
Yes, it is.
As good as Total Feed?
Yes, it is.
I love Total Feed. I love the fact that Dr. Harry Anderson spent a lot of time formulating feeds for different species of animals, even for people animals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Total People is good for you. It is. I've tried it and felt better for it. We've been feeding the horse feed Total Equine for how long?
About 15, 16 years.
It's been a long time, and the horses look great on it. And I'm really happy that Dr. Anderson chose to sponsor this program and this episode. So thanks, Harry. I really appreciate it. Doctor is really cool. He's got so much going. We're going to be talking about it throughout the show. But first of all, I've got to mention something. You know, I like rodeo, bull riding, the whole thing. And the bull riding thing came to mind, that Total Bull. That is another feed from Total Feed. It's called Total Bull, and many of those bulls that you PBR fans and pro rodeo fans see, and they're all muscled up and everything, they are on Total Bull.
They are.
Yeah, it's good for, and goats too.
Yeah, goats too.
Total Goats. The Total Feed is just incredible. And thanks, Dr. Anderson. Hey, we're going to have fun today. We're going to talk about songwriters.
All right.
I love songwriters. Being a record producer, they are the lifeline and the lifeblood of hit songs. Great songs, you know.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about a guy, you know, there's a really, really good songwriters all over Nashville. And then you've got a handful of great songwriters, I mean, that have just written hit after hit after hit. And one that came to mind today was also a very dear friend. His name's Jerry Chestnut. And Jerry has gone on to be with the Lord, but his memory will always be here with so many of us. And he's left a legacy in Nashville of his songs that he's written, recorded by many, many acts. Shoot, Jerry wrote Good Year for the Roses for George Jones, 4 in the Morning for Farron Young, Trouble, Travis Tritt.
Didn't Elvis do that too?
Elvis did. I think Elvis had a cut on The Wonders You Perform, which also Tammy Wynette had, that Jerry wrote.
Okay.
I've got some great Jerry stories, because not only was he a great songwriter, but he was a very, very good friend that I thought the world of. And we spent a lot of time visiting him. And each time one time, he was coming into town from his farm, and I was in my office, which was on the second floor of the Farron Young building on Division Street in Nashville. I still remember that well. And he called and he said, "You're in the office?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "I'm coming up. I've got something very special for you." And I said, "Well, fantastic. Come on up." And I'm pretty excited about what he has. And he walks in, and he's got a gunny sack, or a tow sack, whatever you call them.
I call them feed sacks.
Feed sacks, yeah, they were feed sacks.
100 pounds of feed came in them.
This wasn't 100 pounds, but there was something in that sack, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I said, "What in the world is it, Jerry?" And he said, "It's a hawk. I found it on the side of the road with a broken wing, and just looking at it, I said, Kilroy needs that for his office." So he brought me a hawk with a broken wing to make an office hawk out of. And he said, "You can keep this." And I said, "Well, thank you." And I'm looking at this hawk. And we were on the second floor, and I could see downstairs the cars that were parked. And as he was driving off, I could almost visually see that little smart butt grin on his face, like I got Kilroy that time, you know. What did I do? I take the hawk, over to the Science Museum in Nashville, which they took in some animals, and of course they took the hawk. And I said, he's got a broken wing. And they said, well, maybe we can repair it. I said, well, hope you can get him back in the wild again. And I gave him some money. I don't know whether it's $20, $40, $50 or whatever to take care of him. And I called back in a few days, and the hawk died. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go back and get it and take it to Jerry's office and say, here's the hawk you brought me, and it died. But no, we had a friendship that was very close, and I never will forget him. The hawk would not eat in captivity. They tried to feed him mice, and he wouldn't eat the mice. So anyway, old hawk died, but our relationship, the Chestnut-Kilroy relationship, for many, many years continued, and I valued every bit of it, and such respect I had for Jerry as a songwriter, because he could write. 4 in the Morning was a masterpiece.
Yes, it was a big hit, too.
It was a big hit, and we had a good time with it.
Wait a minute, back up. Did you not tell me one time that he wrote that on his tractor?
I understand that he was on his tractor and wrote that song on the tractor. It came to him 4 in the morning. He got up early, you know.
Yeah, yes, because it was 4 o'clock. He had to get up or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I know he wrote it on his tractor.
Yeah,
but he had a hard time writing it, because I can visualize he's trying to write that on the tread of his rear tire on his tractor, and he got 2 words on each tread, and as it returned, he'd write down a word, and so the words came to him quickly. That's a Kilroy lie.
Yes, it is.
That's not the way that worked at all. No. I just thought it sounded good.
Yes, it did.
We had so many good writers and so many things going on up there for so many years. 4 decades in Nashville just flew by. They went by so quickly.
Well, tell me about how do people come about writing songs, and for what, you know?
Well, a lot of times people just get a line that hits them, or they'll see something and it will say, wow, I ought to write that line. Or it usually always starts with an idea, and the idea starts generally with a line. But then here's the thing that people don't think about with songwriters, okay? I always have so much respect for them, and I've written too, and I know it's hard to do, but you have to have. It's like, you know, you've got 3 hours, 2 hours, hour and a half to do a movie that's a story. Songwriter has to do a whole story, beginning of the story, the ending of the story, and everything begin. And now it's like 3.5 minutes. Some are longer, but you have to tell a whole story. You have to start it, end it, and it has to be a good story. And that's a talent to do that. And I respect people that write books, but they've got 300 pages to write a story on.
Okay, you told me a story about Roger Miller.
Oh, yeah, so many. Which one?
And where were you? One of the Tally-Ho? No. Where were you in Nashville?
Are you talking about Roger Miller, about Johnny? Or
no,
about
Roger Miller, and you told him he should be home with his new baby.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about now. No, we were at Tootsie's down on Broadway, yeah.
Okay.
And we've been up for a day or two, and just we've been kind of just having a good time. There's a term in Nashville that was used, it may still be used now, called roaring. Well, what did you do last night? Well, we were 2 days up roaring, which was partying really, but they called it roar. Let's go roar tonight. Anyhow, I guess Roger and I had been up roaring a little bit, and I think I've told this story before. That we were at Tootsie's probably about 11 o'clock at night, and I said, Roger, we've been up for a long time, and we've been partying. You got that little baby at home. You ought to maybe you ought to think about going home. And he said, yeah, I've been doing too much. I said, yeah. I said, you need to go on home. He said, yeah, dang me. And he said, dang me. And there was a Miller. Not that I'm plugging Miller beer, don't even drink it. But remember the little pads they put down?
Yeah.
You put your beer on, it had Miller beer. He turned it over and he wrote "Dang Me" on it, and he left. And a couple of days later, he came over and he said, let me show you something. And he sang me "Dang Me." And that's where "Dang Me" started, at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. Roger Miller, again, he belongs in that handful of greats, you know, along with Chestnut and some others with Hank Cochran and those guys. The song, though, to make heroes out of singers and out of artists, if they don't mess it up, it all starts with that great song, and you've just got to sell it. And singers, to me, all of them are what I call song salesmen. They're selling a song, okay?
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, a car salesman sells a car. A realtor sells a house. You know, you got to sell the song. The songwriter brings you a great song, then sell it. By golly, put your heart and soul into it. Jerry Lee Lewis, he was the king of song sellers. Once the Killers sang it, there was no use anybody else trying, because he put so much of himself into that song, especially if he could relate to the lyrics, which you brought up the other day, 39 and Holding.
Yep.
Man, that was perfect for Lewis, because he was still trying to be young when he was 75. So imagine what he was doing at 39. And I can say this with full authority because of
you spent a lot of time with him.
Because the years I was with Jerry Lee Lewis and the songs I produced on him, which was, by the way, another Jerry Chestnut song.
39 and Holding?
No, Another Place, Another Time.
Oh, okay.
That thing took off like a tornado. I mean, that was a huge record.
Well, 39 and Holding was long before you and I, and that was one of my favorite songs. But
well, that's how I got to you.
Well, go figure.
I said, she'll look up the name of the producer who produced that song. Then she would, there wasn't Google at that time.
No.
Then she would call the police. They would have a record. How'd I get in touch with Eddie Kilroy? Okay, let me look through the files. We had him in here 2 weeks ago, and here's his number. You tracked me down through the police department.
No, but, life is funny.
Funny.
I don't know how many years later here I am married to you, but...
Yep, we had such a good time. And, speaking of marriages and everything, and I was talking about Jerry Chestnut. He married the loveliest lady, Pat. And Pat was with him at his publishing company, and I met Pat, years ago. And they got married, and Pat was like, we need to go to Nashville. And we go to Nashville, and we'll call Pat and ask her to go to dinner with us.
That would be nice. I've never met her.
Oh, she's a lovely lady. You'd like Pat. But we had
I hear she cooks good.
Oh, yeah. And, well, you could look at Jerry. Jerry was a big boy, I think he lost weight as years went by, but when I first met him, he was big. I'm not fat. He was just a big guy, about 6'4", maybe 250 pounds or 230. But he was a good guy.
What about custom songs? You talked about
custom
that
songs.
one day.
That goes back to 39 and Holding also. There was two writers that wrote together. That matter of fact, they had a written agreement that they wouldn't write with anyone else, and they made a great writing team, and that was Jerry Foster and Bill Rice, the Foster and Rice team. And I had called them and told them that I was looking for a hit, a great song for Jerry Lee Lewis. I was going to do Lewis in about 2 weeks. And they brought over, in about a week, they had written 39 and Holding. And I said, perfect for Lewis, perfect for Lewis. And they would take custom songs, and write for an artist, because every writer, when they write a song, they may not have an artist in mind, but they're thinking when they finished it, okay, this will fit this artist or that artist, and I'll take it to that producer. And then some will specifically write a song that they say, I think I'm going to write where this will attract this writer, and they'll say, hey, that's my song.
Okay, so how many custom songs did you have done for your artist?
You brought one up.
Yeah.
I got assigned when I was running Playboy Records for Hugh Hefner. I got assigned a project. They wanted me to sign, hey, this was crazy. Hef calls me and says, would you consider signing Barbie to Playboy Records?
Barbie who?
Benton.
Okay.
And I said, I didn't say it, I thought, you're asking me would I consider signing your girlfriend to your label? Well, duh.
Weren't they going to go somewhere else?
Yeah, it was going. He told me that Capitol Records was interested in it. However, he would rather have her on Playboy Records.
Well, that makes sense.
It made sense. So I, of course, said, okay. And here I have a lady that really can't sing. She's on Hee Haw. That's her connection with country. But she was
What's she doing Hee Haw?
She was a decorative item.
Ah.
One of those. They decorated with her and there's 3 or 4 other girls. I can't remember their names.
I bet they did.
Yeah, but anyhow, I said, okay, but I had to have a certain song, And I certainly don't mean this in a derogatory term at all about Barbie, but Barbie was born into wealth, and then she moved into the mansion with Hef, surrounded by extreme wealth. And so she couldn't relate to country lyrics, which told a story about real life. Mm-hmm. And so I had to have this particular song, and it turned out almost an autobiography of her. Mac Vickery and Bobby Borchers wrote it, and it was called Brass Buckles.
Bobby Borchers, that's the album over your left shoulder.
Borchers was one of those good writers.
He was signed to Playboy
you know
as
what,
well,
I
right?
think, yeah, he was signed to Playboy, and he was one of those good writers I was talking about. I think Mac Vickery may fall into that handful of great writers because Mac wrote The Fireman with George Strait. Years before that, he had Jamestown Ferry. Well, he and Borchers wrote that together by Tanya Tucker. Mm-hmm. But they both were good writers. But going back to Nashville, it always has been the case.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. I want to go back to Nashville.
Wait a minute. Well, maybe one day you will. So, all right, Barbie couldn't sing. So what did you do?
Barbie couldn't sing. I put her on.
Well, you said it. I didn't.
No. She was not a singer, and I would dub in a couple of words at a time, sometimes one word at a time, and it would take us hours and hours and hours on the vocal on Brass Buckles. And I did an album with her, and it was the same thing on the album. But Brass Buckles went top 5, which was incredible. And I bailed.
For somebody who is not a singer,
right.
that is incredible.
Nowadays, there's tons of them out there that are not singing and not singers.
Not singers. You just can't understand them,
because
that's all.
No. They have auto-tuning now. So anyone can go in and sing, and automation just puts them in tune like they're good singers.
Wow, maybe I should go to Nashville.
Hey. I tell you what, they auto-tune you, man, you'd be a star.
I can't carry a tune. I am tone deaf.
That's why they use auto-tuning. I'm not going to mention a name now, but I heard a guy in Las Vegas singing, and I said, this is the worst singer that I've heard in years. I mean, he was awful. And 4 or 5 months later, he's having #1 records because they're using auto-tuning. Isn't that incredible?
And yes, you're right. You're not going to mention his name.
But in the days of singers, you had guys like Marty Robbins, Farron Young, Ray Price. Name some. They just opened their mouth. They sang in tune. In the next era that came along, there was Vince Gill. Oh my God! I don't think you'd shoot him and make him sing out of tune. He just sings. But the whole life in this whole show is about the Western way of life to a degree, the cowboy way of life. We keep up with the PBR and the pro rodeo events, and we try to stay involved because that's the life I came up in before along came the record business and the music business, which I don't regret. But we're going to have a lot of shows coming up. We've got Janie Fricke's going to be with us.
Yep, Janie Fricke.
Mo Bandy. Gene Watson. Who else?
Oak Ridge.
Oh, Dwayne Allen with the Oak Ridge Boys,
the Oak Ridge Boys.
And we've got a lot coming up. And then we're going to start talking to some of the newer acts, which is very, very interesting. The acts that were not in Nashville, back 10 years ago. Now they're not there, and there's a lot of stuff happening in the state of Oklahoma. And there's some new acts down there that are showing a lot of promise, and already some making it, and I would like to have them on. And we'll have them in addition with Mo Bandy, Gene Watson, and T.G. Shepard, and da-da-da-da-da. It's going to run on and on. We're going to load you up with it. All good.
Well, Oklahoma has produced a lot of country singers over the years.
I couldn't even name them all.
Well, sure you can.
Let me start. Tank Thompson. Vince Gill.
Yep.
How about that guy has his name on the water tower, Garth Brooks. And then
Toby Keith.
The great Toby Keith.
The great Toby Keith, and in my opinion, the great Reba McEntire.
Oh, of course, Reba. I was not going to leave her out. Oklahoma has really...
And we probably missed one or two.
Yeah, I'm sure we did. There's so many the greats that came out of Oklahoma. So, okay, Oklahoma is known for oil, great country music singers and great bull contractors. Great bulls come out of here, and a lot of great bull riders who come out of Oklahoma. So anyway,
bullfighters too. There's
bullfighters
too.
Yeah,
out of here.
like who's going to argue about Frank Newsom?
Oklahoma and Texas, I guess, are your top ones, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma and Texas. However,
California,
Chad Berger up there in North Dakota.
I'm talking about singers, not
singers.
Not
I'm back
contractors.
on bull contractors.
Yeah, you are. Let's reel you in off of that.
I know.
Back to Nashville.
Before we get running away, maybe we ought to be holding some back for our next episode.
Okay.
But right now, I want to thank Total Feeds.
Yes, thank Total Feeds.
Total Feed.
What about your email? It's Kilroy, Outlaws and Legends.
Keep on. You're doing good.
You keep on.
For one time, let's get this dadgum thing right, okay?
I'm waiting on you. I know what it is. I'm testing you. So
it's
go ahead.
Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends.
Kilroy.
I told you to do it.
Kilroy Outlaws and Legends at yahoo.com.
Okay, you did good on that. Now, I will do good on this because it's not real long.
Very good.
What I've been talking about, go to their website, our sponsor, Total Feed. Everything's there for you to check it out. They have all kind of feed for different types of animals and people, and it's just a great deal. Dr. Anderson's come up with something good. So anyway, till next time, this is Kilroy Liz saying adios and be blessed.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music. If you have any thoughts or questions about the content, email them. Kilroy Outlaws and Legends, all one word, at yahoo.com. That's Kilroy, no S, Outlaws and Legends, all one word, at yahoo.com. And don't forget to subscribe. Third-party use of any part of this podcast without the expressed consent of Eddie Kilroy is prohibited. The Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music podcast is a production of Eddie Kilroy.